welder, these are the required PPE. Gloves help us stop us from touching hot metal and protect us from UV light on our hands. We've got the leather jacket, to protect us from the splatter of the weld and the UV rays from the welder. And you got the helmet. Protect your eyes, and the settings you must have it on. Sensitivity on a high. Delay on a minimum. And that on 12. And you have to have it set to weld, not grind. Before we turn the welder on, we have to do a couple of things. You have to turn on this extractor fan when the light goes off, that means it's on. You got to turn the lights on above your bay and also fold these down to protect other students.
To set up the welder properly, the first thing we're going to want to do is grab our ground cable and ground off the table so that the electricity will be going through the table instead of us. That's safe. And make sure the cable isn't coiled, as the electricity going through the coil will generate a lot of heat. Next step is we want to turn our welder on. So we're just going to go here and flip that to on. And then once that's on, we're going to turn the gas. So we'll just open this up just a quarter. And then instead to open this up, we're going to go tighten it. And we're going to keep going until that goes to 16. We want it at 16 litres per minute. So around there, that looks pretty good. Now come over to our welder and we'll grab our mid gun and turn the back. First thing we want to do is check to make sure our nozzle's clean, and that nozzle is definitely not clean. So what we'll do is we'll pull this nozzle off and we'll give it a quick clean here with the welding pliers. So we'll just stick it in there and just give it a good twist just to get all that slag out so that we've got really good gas flow. Because if you don't have proper gas flow, then you have a pretty poor weld. So now that we've got a nice clear lens, we can get good gas flow through there. We'll put it back on the mid gun, just push it on there, and we'll check. That's not on yet, so if you come around here, there's a switch on the back, and we're just going to flip that switch up. And the welder's going to turn on. Now, to make sure our gas is flowing properly, we'll just press the trigger. And you'll hear gas coming out, and you'll see the wire coming out. That means you're ready to weld. So we're going to have a quick chat about the sort of trades that use welding. Now, the most common trade that would use welding would be a boiler maker, but there's lots of different types of boiler makers. You've got specialist welders as well. They do things such as underwater arc welding, specialized TIG welding using stainless steel and aluminium as well.
Other types of trades that use welding, such as landscaping and construction, they're more of the general welding to be able to build things at house.
So here we have sheet metal and a jeweler. A jeweler, they use their little oxyacetylene to make gold rings and like stuff like that. And then sheet metal, they could be like a panel beater, like they weld car frames together or truck frames, and just ducting like that. That's sheet metal over there. And yeah, very useful trade.
So we're going to show you how the MIG weld actually works. It's pretty simple. It just relies on a basic circuit of electricity. So first of all, we have the ground. So this ground is going to be connected to either our work or the table we're working on. And then we've got our MIG gun with the contact tip. So how this works is that it'll feed wire out of the gun, and this contact tip here will provide electricity to the filler wire. Now, what happens is that the filler wire will make...
Where the wire comes from
Oh, where does the wire come
is
from?
in this compartment here. The way you check before you start welding is if there's enough wire to weld. And in this case, there is. So now we can close it, and I'll let Liam finish.
So the wire will come out of this gun here, and it'll be striking an arc against your work or whichever piece is grounded. Now what will happen is when you strike an arc, you'll have a puddle of molten metal. What happens when molten metal starts to oxidize? When molten metal oxidizes with no shielding gas, it'll let in all of the air and oxygen from around in the atmosphere, which will give you a very poor and not very strong weld.
Hey Liam, what type of gas do we use?
Now, to prevent oxidization, we use R-gas. R-gas is a mixture of argon and other types of gases
Such as oxygen and hydrogen.
to prevent the weld from oxidizing. A gas will come out of these small holes in the weld gun, and we use this nozzle here so that it directs the gas over where we're welding so that it doesn't oxidize and gives us a strong weld. To get a good weld, you need to have your welder set up properly with the correct settings. A MIG welder uses two settings, voltage and wire speed. The voltage determines how much electricity is going through the weld and therefore how much heat is going into your weld. The wire speed determines how quickly the wire is coming out of your gun, and that determines how much material is going to go into your weld. A really good baseline setting is to have it for just your common MIG welding is around 20 volts and around 7 meters per second on the wire speed, but you can also fine tune these to get a better weld based on the sort of weld you're doing.
These are your most common MIG welding beads. The straight is one of the most common. The half crescent and the triangle are used to tie two pieces of metal together, and the whipping is another type of bead.
And here we have the TIG, which is a figure 8 bead, and that is used to weld aluminium and make it stronger.
When MIG welding, you want to hold the torch at around a 45-degree angle as a baseline. You want to push it towards where you're going, and sometimes with the C motion you go backwards and forwards like this as close as you can to the bench without making contact. When doing welds on fillet welds, you can hold the torch at a different angle depending on the way gravity and the way the metal is going to fold down.
Ashley, can you turn the wire speed up for me real quick? It's pretty low. Is that all good? Cheers, mate.
Why isn't it working?
Hang on, Ashley. I think it's because you don't have your ground cable on.
Oh
Now you can weld, can I? Yes, you can.
no! Oi Liam!
What?
Leave me, hold on!
Oh, sorry, mate.